welcome back to art class. Today we're going to finish up our pumpkins and we're going to be adding some shadows to it. Then we're going to be filling in. We'll be finishing up the stem area here, and we'll do a little bit of sky work, and we're going to do a little bit of grass work. You will want to have probably a pencil handy, and you definitely want to have your colored pencils handy. That's pretty much all the materials that you're going to need for this project. You may want an eraser, like for me. You know, there's little spots that I need to go in and erase and make a little bit nicer so it doesn't show up through the colored pencil. Let's get started. Let's focus on pumpkin. Okay, where you should already have a light layer of orange on there, and then you have the highlight of the yellow, which would be from the moon, because this is going to be a night picture for me. So next, I want to make sure I have my orange ready, and I want to have a brown ready. Okay. So the way this is going to work is very similar to how we did the top. We're going to have the shadow clearly on the bottom, because if it's getting light on the top, there'll be shadow on the bottom. So I'm going to be using the brown as shadow, not black. And I want to go up probably at least two, probably almost 3 finger spaces up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the edge of my shadow actually curve up a little bit taller towards the edge, like this. And again, I'm not coloring real hard. I'm just putting a light layer of brown. And at the bottom is where I'm going to put a little bit darker brown, because that's where the darkest part of the shadow would be. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going right up to the line. I'm actually going to kind of almost outline it right there. In fact, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to touch that up a little bit. Again, the very bottom here is going to be dark. So I got a darker brown and lighter brown, and then you notice it curves again. Here on this one, because it's in the middle, it's actually going to curve kind of like this. I'll show you. So again, almost outlining. Yeah, so it's kind of got a U-ish shape there. I probably went a little too dark there, so I may have to go in and actually lighten it up. And erasers are great for lightening up colored pencil. You may not be able to get rid of them, but you can lighten it up a bit. There you go, makes me feel a little bit better. And then it'll be a reflection over here, so this is going to be curved this way. Okay, now that I got my shadow in there, I need to go back in. We don't really want this to be brown. What we want this to be is an orange brown, so it looks a little bit more natural. So I'm going to take my orange, I'm going to layer over on top of the brown, and I'm going to add a second and final layer to my pumpkin here. And then if you're careful, you can lightly go on top of the yellow, just a little bit to help blend it there. You don't want to go real hard, you just want to lightly blur the edge there. Again, I'm careful about my coloring direction. Notice my marks are actually all going pretty much the same way. That way they all blend really well together. Okay, as you can see, I kind of finished that up. I mean, again, if you need to put a little bit more orange into it to solid up this bottom here, that's fine. It takes a little bit to play back and forth with your blending here. Well, this is where some scrap paper, just scrap paper is kind of handy to practice that before you do it there. Next, let's talk about the stem. Stem's pretty easy for the most part. I'm gonna move over here a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna just first kind of outline this. Make sure I got nice smooth edges. Okay. Then I'm gonna lightly fill it in, kind of like we did with the orange. We're gonna do more than just one layer of color here. So for this part, we're going to need to add in some black at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the black very lightly to add in some of the twists that come in a lot of these pumpkins in their vines, because the vines are not perfect cylinders. I'm going to do it lightly. And then I'm going to kind of fade a little bit of black around the edge. So it's very lightly done. So the middle part's a little bit darker, a little bit more solid, but then around the outside of it kind of fades away. Then I'm going to add some more brown to make it, so this actually looks more like dark brown. You're going to want to limit how many of those black lines go in. I kind of limit it to, basically where they might grow from the seams here in our pumpkin. And I have one that, like, this is actually going to another one, and then this would actually come from here. So that kind of gives you a rough idea of how I plan that out. Okay, and again, I did the black first. I went in here, and then I just did some light black on the edges, just to give it a little bit of a shadow. Okay. Down here, you're going to move on to yellow green and regular green. So we can actually put these three away. I'm going to start off with regular green. I'm just going to kind of fill this space in. Again, we're going to layer some colors together. Okay, so there's my first layer of green. Now with this green, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go in here underneath the pumpkin and add some darker green, because it's going to be kind of like the shadow that's right underneath the pumpkin. What's nice is you don't have to be 100% perfectly the same direction, because grass doesn't always go perfectly the same way. But we don't want scribbles all over the place. That's not a good idea. Okay, and then I'm going to put a couple of kind of like just zigzags, almost M's or N's. To kind of break up the grass a little bit. And then I'm going to even give a very light layer. It's not a full layer, but it's just a really light layer of regular green over the top. So it mixes it all together pretty good. It helps get any white spaces that I might have missed also. For the shadow, we need a little bit of dark blue or violet. I'm going to go with dark blue. And I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to add just a smidge of dark blue or regular blue into the shadow. Because rarely are shadows actually really just black. They're actually usually a darker version of whatever colors that are around. So I'm just adding a little bit of blue to this stuff. Just to the shadow area. Like that. Okay. Next, my sky is a night sky, so that clearly means that I need to do, well, black or purple. What I'm actually going to do, because again we've been blending and we're doing such a great job with blending, I'm actually going to make a purple-black sky, because the night sky is not always perfectly black or perfectly a purple. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple of stars. My moon is off the screen, but I'm going to do kind of like starry night stars, where they're kind of glowing. So they have a bright center and they're glowing. So lots of mixing. So what I'm going to do next, I don't want to put too many because then I'll make it really hard for it to color the purple black, but I'll add a little bit of white to lighten that up. The glow, not the center. Make that center a little bit brighter, and I'm even going to add a tinge just a tinge of orange. I mean barely touching, just to give it a little bit to stand out. Then I'm going to color my sky purple first. Now, if you want to do a setting sun, you want to do a daytime sky, that's fine. Just remember, we're working on our blending skills with this. So like if a setting sun, then you would blend, orange into red into purple for the falling into night. If you were doing a daytime sky, you might blend the light blue into the regular blue as the blue gets closer to the ground. And then you're pretty much done. Again, just kind of clean up some edges here. So like here, I got a couple of small marks that I can touch up. Okay. Then when you're done, please snap a photo of it and then upload it to Google Classroom like we've been doing, and we're good to go. I will see you guys next week.